Ja, wir haben heute wieder einen englisch sprechenden Gast in der Sendung, und zwar ist es diesmal Michael Tellinger. Und wir werden einiges über Südafrika sprechen und einiges über die Vergangenheit, aber auch einiges über die Zukunft und einen möglichen Wandel auf dem Planeten. Das Interview wird in Englisch geführt, aber dann mit deutschen Untertiteln versehen. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
So, great to meet you. And you have a lot of information about a missing gold train in South Africa. So I would like to do a little history lesson with you. And could you please elaborate a little bit about this missing gold train?
Yes, you're referring to Paul Kruger's Millions. Yes, in South Africa, it's a famous story, famous historical event, and it involves a train filled with gold on the 4th of June, 1900. And this was Paul Kruger's famous train. Paul Kruger was the president of the Transvaal Republic, the republic that was resisting the British Empire invasion of Southern Africa. And Paul Kruger filled a train with gold in Pretoria, the capital of the Transvaal, and it was heading out towards Mozambique. And by the time the train got to the town of Machadodorp, it mysteriously vanished, disappeared, never to be seen again. And this has turned into one of the greatest stories of mystery in South African history. And thousands, if not millions of people have been wondering what happened to Paul Kruger's golden train and what happened to all the gold on the train. And thousands of people come to South Africa every year looking for the treasure, Paul Kruger's millions. It's probably Paul Kruger's trillions today because it'd be worth a lot more.
How many gold was on this train?
Well, nobody really knows. It's all speculation. But anything between 30 tons of gold and 3,000 tons of gold. But the mystery is that it wasn't just one carriage of gold. It was a train of gold. So, you know, how much gold can you load onto a train? Several carriages of a train. And my suggestion is it's probably a lot of gold, a lot more than just 30 tons. And the mystery about that is, you know, not only where is the gold, but where did Paul Kruger get the gold from?
Was there heavy gold mining in these days?
Well, therein lies the mystery, really, and also why South Africa was involved in a war against the Great Britain, or the British Empire, that invaded South Africa in the very late 1800s. There were two wars in 1880s and then late 1890s, where it was the Second Anglo-Boer War. The first one the British lost. They lost it really badly against the farmers, the Boers. And then they went back and they strengthened their army and they sent 470,000 soldiers in 1898 to South Africa to start the war in 1899 against 60,000 farmers on horseback.
Almost all the people from Britain.
Yeah, it's incredible. Many researchers claim that because of the time and so forth, 470,000 soldiers remains the most expensive war that Britain has ever fought, the British Empire has ever fought.
Why?
Well, that's the question, yes. Why did Britain send so many soldiers to South Africa at the end of the 1800s to fight 60,000 farmers on horseback, defending their land, defending their farms, and against another more or less 60,000 Africans with spears and shields, you know, and to invade their land? Something mysterious must have been going on. And the clue is in Paul Kruger's golden train, because Paul Kruger had so much gold that the British Empire must have recognized that he found the gold in mysterious places, because when his golden train disappeared, the question, as you said, is we shouldn't be asking what happened to the gold, but rather where did Paul Kruger get all the gold from? And it seems to me that Paul Kruger possibly or probably discovered some of the ancient tunnels, the Anunnaki tunnels in South Africa, that were filled with gold. And there are many other references of ancient mines, ancient tunnels that are referred to gold mining or associated with ancient gold mining. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of years ago and dozens of thousands of years ago. And these ancient gold mining tunnels were filled with gold before the flood. And we suspect that these tunnels that cover large parts of South Africa and possibly Zimbabwe as well, are still filled with gold today. So when Paul Kruger accidentally found one of these tunnels, and the reason I say this is because the Boers were known for digging tunnels to hide from the British troops. So they were possibly digging a hole into the ground to make a tunnel when they came across this ancient tunnel.
Now, are these ancient tunnels uncovered? So are there photos, are there videos? Can you go into these ancient tunnels, or are there only rumors about these ancient?
Well, they're not rumors. They are stories that are told by miners from very recent events from 2014, where ancient tunnels are discovered. Anglo-American has got lots of information about ancient mines and ancient tunnels that they've discovered. De Beers have discovered ancient tunnels and ancient mines in South Africa. The Diamond Company, Anglo-American, is one of the largest mining companies in the world. Miners in the 30s discovered ancient tunnels while they were mining gold. So the story of ancient mines and ancient tunnels goes back more than 100 years. And I suspect that these tunnels that were found were actually the original gold mining tunnels of the Anunnaki that settled in southern Africa 300, 400,000 years ago to mine the gold. And when the flood was about to hit some 12, 13,000 years ago, they knew that the flood was coming, so they put a lot of the gold in the tunnels underground to keep it safe, because you're not going to leave it on the ground, on the surface, then it's scattered everywhere. At least in the tunnels, it's safe from the flood. But then it'll be flooded and covered up. And it still remains there today. So I suspect that when the British Empire realized that Paul Kruger had this train filled with gold, and that this gold did not come from the mines, because the gold mining in South Africa in 1900 was not that big yet, they knew that he must have found the Anunnaki gold. He must have found one of these ancient tunnels, just like many other people have found before. But this time, Paul Kruger found it filled with gold. And that made him the most dangerous and the most powerful man in the world, virtually overnight. And the British Empire are the royal bloodlines. They are the elite that run the world, or they are among the elite that run the world today.
Is there a connection between them and the so-called Anunnaki? You have mentioned the name. What are Anunnaki, and is there a connection between these bloodlines?
Well, the Anunnaki are the Anunna gods from the Sumerian texts. They're these beings that came to Earth several 100,000 years ago. They came here with a specific plan, and that was to find gold. And they found lots of gold. And it was their obsession with gold that we as human beings inherited, our obsession for gold. All ancient cultures refer to the gods that came to earth and created humanity. So this is nothing new, except that we've been denying it for so long, and the Eurocentric belief systems that have infiltrated the rest of the world and destroyed ancient beliefs and ancient knowledge that's been handed down for thousands of years has been removing that knowledge from the ancient civilizations and preventing it from being shared with the rest of the world. So it's not new to ancient African knowledge keepers or knowledge keepers in the Americas or in Asia that the Anunna gods came to earth in ancient times. They came to mine gold, and they created a new species called Homo sapien as a slave species for the gold mining. So our entire history as a species can be connected to gold, the mining of gold, and the working as slaves for the Anunnaki. This is what I suspect the British Empire discovered, that Paul Kruger discovered the Anunnaki gold, and they had to put a stop to that. And that's why they sent such an unimaginable number of soldiers, 470,000 soldiers, to South Africa more than 100 years ago, 120 years ago. It's insane.
Okay, there's one question that comes in mind. Why didn't the Anunnaki take the gold and bring it elsewhere, to some other planets or something like this? The flood was faster.
Yes, the flood took them by surprise. Mm-hmm. They knew that they didn't have enough time. So the best thing they could do is just hide the gold, because there was not enough time to get it off the planet. Because it's very obvious that the Anunnaki were taking the gold off the planet. So the best thing they could do was to hide the gold, get it out of the way of the flood.
And then it comes to these circular structures where you are very famous for uncovering them, and they are connected to.
Yes. Well, the circular structures are energy devices. You know, there are probably more than 10 million of these structures based on my calculation. These circular structures, or stone circles as we call them, scattered through South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Mozambique, mostly in the eastern part of South Africa. Actually, they ride across South Africa, but they concentrated in the east and to the north, and then right into Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe is full of them. They go across the Zambezi River into Zambia, they go into Mozambique and into Botswana, and there, from my calculation, more than 10 million of these structures. So that tells us that there was a lot of activity going on in southern Africa in ancient times, and this is why I call it a vanished civilization, because there's very little literature written about it other than what I've written. And then discovering that these stone circles are not dwellings, they're energy-generating devices. Every stone circle is a cymatic pattern, is a representation of the sound frequency coming out of the earth at that point. And the stone walls that have been placed on the cymatic pattern amplify the energy, the sound frequency, and turn it into an electromagnetic field. And this is why we have very strong electromagnetic activity, very powerful sound frequencies coming out of these stone walls, and they're all connected together by these channels that look like wires that connect them together. So we're dealing with a huge energy-generating grid, a network of stone circles that give us unimaginable amount of energy.
And this is something that can be measured scientifically?
Not can be, it has been measured. So this is not a theory. This is scientific fact. It's been measured, it's been documented. You go there with your GPS, you lose GPS, so it tells you that there's an activity going on there.
What does modern archaeology do? Do they recognize them?
Unfortunately, our modern archaeology in South Africa is way behind time. They don't approach us scientifically at all. They keep claiming that these stone circles were dwellings for certain tribes, and they just unfortunately they're lying and deceiving the people. Look, many of the stone circles were used for dwellings, but much later civilizations. So yes, you'll find evidence of people using them as dwellings and changing them and converting them, but they were not the first original builders. These people found them and used them like we do. You know, civilizations build on top of each other, and we reuse what we find from ancient civilizations, and that's exactly what happened here. The original structures have no doors and no entrances. They are completely closed in and connected to each other. They are energy-generating devices. Every stone circle that we measured very powerful sound frequencies in gigahertz, from 11.5 gigahertz up to over 375 gigahertz, coming out of the walls of the stone circles and out of Adam's calendar. This is unimaginable amounts of sound energy. The volume or the level of the sound frequencies goes around 30,000 decibels. 30,000 decibels is very powerful energy coming out of the stone circles. We're dealing with hypersound technology here. It's not something that can happen in nature by accident.
Okay, so Adam's calendar. What is Adam's calendar? Is there a comparison between Adam's calendar and Stonehenge?
Yeah, Stonehenge is a lot bigger and more grander. And Stonehenge is very old, you know. Stonehenge is probably more than 1 million years old, and people don't see it. All you got to do is look at the erosion on the stones at Stonehenge to tell you that it's impossible for sarsen stone to erode so much in a few thousand years.
Similar thing with the Sphinx in Egypt.
Yes, exactly. So what Stonehenge is just a great example to show us how old some of these ancient structures are and how far back our civilization goes on this planet, or how far back activity goes on this planet. Adam's calendar is a more basic version of this, but it's very, very old. It's badly destroyed. It also looks like water came through there and destroyed a lot of it, but it's still active. It is well known by ancient knowledge keepers in South Africa as an ancient site that was built by the Anunnaki. It was built by Enki as a place where humanity was created. Credo Mutwa, the well-known African Zulu shaman, talks openly about Adam's calendar, but he refers to it as Inzalo Yelanga, which means birthplace of the sun. And not just the sun as in the stars, the star, but the son of the gods, the sons of the gods. Because Inzalo Yelanga is where humanity was created by the gods as a slave race to work in the gold mines.
Created or perhaps dumped down, so some DNA strands cut it or...
Yes, when I say created, I mean cloned, genetically cloned. Okay. And there's a lot more information, obviously, that I have on this. This could be a long discussion, and I could share a lot of information with you on that. So, and a lot of amazing discoveries that we made at Adam's calendar that are really mind-boggling, that corroborate lots of information and information that we've been given by different psychics, different channelings, historical things, items that we've picked up, physical items that connect to some of the channelings and the psychic information that the people did not know. We have the tools and the artifacts, and yet they refer to them. So you've got to ask yourself, scientific question is, what is the statistical probability that these people will all tell you the same information when they don't know each other and they've never heard this information before? And so we can use this kind of argument as a scientific support for the statements that we make. Statistical probability is used all the time in scientific and mathematical areas as scientific evidence and proof. So we have a lot of information about this, and Adam's calendar seems to be the flagship among these millions of stone circles, and it resonates very, very powerfully. At Adam's calendar, we have an electromagnetic field that runs inside the imaginary circle. Now, there are no stone walls there. So this is the mysterious thing. How does this work? Because you literally take one step forward and the electromagnetic fields go crazy. And they run horizontally in the one area, and then between the two central stones, they run vertically into the sky. And every time we've gone back recently, the electromagnetic fields seem to be increasing. So something strange is going on there. And it's definitely active. It's alive and it's active, even in its very badly destroyed state.
Now, the question is, can we use this form of energy from these circular structures somehow?
The answer is yes. But for that we need engineers, electrical engineers, electronical engineers, geophysical engineers. We need tools and technology, and all that takes money. Now, obviously, we're not going to get the money for this from the mainstream, because the mainstream are the guys that control the electricity supply that enslaves humanity. So they're not going to help us with this, right? We're going to have to get the help ourselves somehow to reactivate this and share this energy with the world, and especially with the people in that area. We've got enough energy generated there to feed the whole world.
And so we are at the next topic, Ubuntu. Could you please explain das Ubuntu-Prinzip?
Yes, very simply, Ubuntu is an ancient African philosophy. It's an African word that refers to people living and working in a harmonious, united community, where people share for the benefit of everyone in the community, where money does not exist, where nobody needs anything because everything is shared. And it means that, often described as, I am who I am because of who we all are. So it's an inclusive ancient philosophy to provide abundance for the community. And in the modern world, I call this contributionism. So I often refer to as Ubuntu and contributionism in the same sentence, because this is the philosophy that we promote to get us out of the slavery system, out of the monetary and the economic enslavement that we've been trapped in, and creating a whole new system, not fighting or resisting the current system, just creating a new system for humanity that flows naturally out of what has been created for us as a slavery system. So creating communities of abundance by creating community projects, allowing people to participate in the community projects, and creating much more than what we just need for ourselves in the projects, from growing food, technology, healthcare, anything you can imagine. Creating much more than what we need, and then making that available to our neighboring communities. And by doing that, very quickly destroying the capitalist model.
Well, a world without money is a very big step. So how can we get there?
Yeah, a world without money is something that we're moving towards very quickly. We believe that it can happen a lot quicker if you use the political system together with the community-driven system. So bottom up, top down. So this is why we created the Ubuntu Party, and we promote the Ubuntu philosophy on a political level. And it's not difficult to convince people that this is a good system, because every one of us resonates with us in our hearts. This is not my system, this is an ancient philosophy, that I'm just the messenger of the system. So people tap into their deep ancestry and the DNA, and it resonates in their hearts when they first come across the system. And they embrace it very, very quickly all over the world. If you just look at how this movement has grown to more than 200 countries around the world, we have Ubuntu parties being formed now in South Africa, the UK, Canada, USA, Australia, now in Germany, Austria coming, and it's exploding all over the world. We are focusing on communities, not from the political level on a central government level, because we've tried that and we realize that that is not going to help us in many ways. Because even if we win on a national level in the political field, and some of us go into parliament, to effect change from parliament is very, very small chance of doing that. But if we go and campaign in the small towns and small villages, if we win, which we believe we will win, and I become mayor, or one of the Ubuntu representatives become mayor, and we implement the Ubuntu philosophy, we can make a lot of change very quickly on the ground level, grassroots level, in small towns and small communities, than we can make as a member of parliament. So this is a whole new strategy. And in the South African elections, we basically leading by example, sharing this philosophy with people around the world and letting the other Ubuntu movements follow our lead. And we're going after the 12 smallest towns in South Africa. And we believe that we can win at least one out of those 12 smallest municipalities, rather, not towns, 12 smallest municipalities. And we believe we can win at least one of those municipalities. And that'll change everything. As soon as we implement the Ubuntu philosophy there, it'll spread like a wildfire, and it'll be the first domino to fall. We have a very simple plan of action, is we offer the people the following: a free electricity. So the moment we win, we implement our own electricity supply. It can either be a turbine in the river, it can be new exotic technology, anything to get us off the grid, off the central electricity grid. We provide our own electricity. That electricity is then distributed free and equally to everyone. We establish a number of community projects with that electricity device, and everybody in the town is requested to work for 3 hours a week in one of the community projects in return for the free electricity. And these community projects then create the abundance of bread, milk, wooden products, clothing, food, anything you can imagine, all the projects we decide to create for ourselves. In the beginning, while we're still trapped in the money-driven system, we take what we create, because we create more than we need, so that we can sell it or give it away. In the beginning, we're not going to give it away, we're going to sell it for very, very cheap outside of our town. And the reason we're going to sell it, and we can make it very cheap, because collectively we are producing all these things very cheaply, cheaper than any factory or any corporation. Because remember, if we have a town of 5,000 people and everybody contributes 3 hours a week, that's 15,000 hours a week. 15,000 hours of labor per week that we are doing things for our community. I mean, with that kind of labor force, we've turned our little town into a powerful labor force that can move mountains, literally. No corporation and no municipality can compete with you. So we can then make the produce and the services and everything we create available very cheaply to our neighboring towns. The moment we do that, we collapse their capitalist model. And they're going to have to follow what we're doing. They're not going to have to, they're going to want to follow what we're doing, right? In return for what we create, 3 hours a week for the free electricity, plus everything that we make from the bread, milk, cheese, everything is free to the people that give their 3 hours a week. So in essence, we live for free in our own town by simply turning around the concept of competition and turning it into collaboration and cooperation. It's that simple. It's a little flick of the mind switch.
Wow, this would change everything. So everyone works for 3 hours a week.
Yes.
What do you do with the rest time?
Whatever you want to do. And this is why it's so important to realize that this is a transitional phase. It's so simple. You don't have to give up your job. You can still do what you're doing. You can still work in the bank if that's what you do. As long as you work for 3 hours a week on one of the community projects, you are entitled to the free electricity and the free food and everything else we create. The money that we bring from all these community projects into our community bank account or community trust fund, that money gets used to set up more community projects and create projects that create components for other community projects, because eventually we have to be completely self-sufficient for everything we need, from technology to engineering to food to wood, furniture, clothing, everything we can imagine. We keep setting up new community projects with all the money that keeps coming in every month. Hospitals, healing, curing disease, right? So the moment we win an election and we start getting money from government to distribute, to run our town, we use that money to set up the fundamental foundation community projects. So the money will come from government to actually set the community projects up. We will have our own electricity supply, and then we just ask the people to work for 3 hours a week in one of these community projects. And from there, that foundation, we keep growing and building more and more projects. How do we engage with other factories and projects and activities in our town? This is where you see the beautiful, inclusive character of this system, where we can invite people by saying, well, we have a wooden factory in our town, but by creating community projects, we become a threat to the wooden factory that makes doors and windows. So what we do is we invite every factory, every business to become part of the community projects. In return, they get free electricity, free labor from the people that work in the projects, free wood from our wood factory, free glue from our science laboratory, and all the components to make their doors and windows. And in return, they retain 1/3 of the profits that we make from that factory.
Win-win situation.
It's not just a win-win situation. It is an absolute boost situation for the owner of that factory. Just make your factory a community project. And in the interim, while we still live in a money-driven society, this individual will be making a lot more money than he is right now. where he has to pay labor, pay for the costs of the.
What about taxes and rent and things like this?
Well, we can turn our town into a non-profit company. You see, so we use a system to beat the system. So all the profit and all the money we make in our town get distributed to the people and gets used to keep upgrading and improving the community projects, improving the company, so you never pay taxes. Because it's like companies do it. They keep using the money they make to grow the company and improve and buy things for the company. So you end up never paying taxes. So we use a system to beat the system.
So this is planned for 2016.
This is what we're planning in 2016 election. We're running into 12 smallest municipalities in South Africa. We believe we can reach all the people in those municipalities. Hopefully we can win at least one. The moment we win, we can implement this with all the community projects. If I become mayor for the first period to implement it, I'm going to have to do that. I don't necessarily want to be mayor, but I'm going to have to implement this to start off with, to show everybody else how to do it. And within the first 2 weeks of winning the election, the people will start feeling the effects. And especially in our towns, where everything has been destroyed, the sports fields are just, there's no grass in the sports fields. Imagine if just in the first 2 weeks, we appoint a greenkeeper on the soccer field and the cricket field and the rugby field, and put new tennis courts in and new basketball fields. All this stuff can happen because this money is coming from the government in any case. Right now, our municipality is stealing the money from us. So nothing is going to the people and to the services. So the people feel the effect immediately, or virtually immediately. And we start implementing the electrical supply, put turbines in the river, and at some point very soon just plug ourselves in and start supplying our own electricity. And everything changes.
So I guess it would be great if other countries would do the same simultaneously now in the next months, in the next year. And so the movement would grow bigger and bigger.
Yes. My request for people is, instead of trying to spread this now, rather stand behind us. Stand behind the Ubuntu movement in South Africa. Give us all the support that we need so that we can make this work.
What support do you need?
Well, right now we need financial support. Running a political campaign costs money. And right now I'm funding it myself with every cent that I earn, with the sales of money from our books, from doing talks like this, and from some donations we're getting. But to make this a successful campaign, I'm trying to raise about $200,000 to make this work. And we will use the money for the campaign, for posters, for funding the people that run as candidates. There's costs and expenses. $200,000 is probably just enough to make this just work, but it'll help us to reach as many of the people as we can. So I'm asking the people around the world to support the Ubuntu movement in South Africa, the parent movement, to make this a success so that we win one municipality, so we can implement this philosophy, and that will be the trigger point and the first domino to fall, to inspire, to motivate, and give all the other countries the courage that they can do the same. If we can do it, they can do it. And because the world is now a global village, and we have people all over the world that support the Ubuntu philosophy, there are Ubuntu members and Facebooks all over the world, this news will spread so quickly that not only in South Africa will this spread to thousands of towns within weeks, but the same will happen all over the world. It will spread to thousands of towns around borders in Germany, in the USA, Australia, all over the world. It's not going to be stoppable.
Okay, now where do people get the information? Is there a website? Is there like a newsletter? How do you want to get contacted?
The best is to join us on the Ubuntu Party website. So go to ubuntuparty.org.za. That's the main Ubuntu Party website. Register on there, go to join us and put in your name and details in there so you get onto the database for the newsletters. And if you want to participate in the political activity in your country, then fill in the second form. That's a form for coordinators or representatives, so that we can start communicating with you, with the people in your country that want to set up the political movement and start driving it from that perspective.
Well, Michael, thank you very much for your work, for this interview, and great luck for next year.
Thank you so much, and good luck with this wonderful channel of yours.